I'm in a book club with a couple other people, and now we're like working through a book called Trauma and the 12 Steps, and learning how to look at trauma and like how that correlates with the 12 steps and therapy and like things like that. And it's really eye-opening of like, okay, again, it's okay for me to have this trauma, right? But how can I look at it from a different perspective and now change the narrative to, oh my gosh, all of this stuff happened to me, versus, you know what? Yes, it did. And here are some skills to cope and like work through that.
Stories are powerful.
Welcome to the Rise, Recover, Live podcast, brought to you by The Phoenix. This is a space where people impacted by substance use can come to share their story of strength and resilience, get open and honest, and inspire hope and build community through shared experience.
We'll be talking to people in our community on their own recovery journey and shine a light on the topic of recovery in all its forms. Maybe you'll hear some of your story in theirs.
Let's show the world that together we rise, recover, and live.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of the Rise, Recover, Live podcast. We are your hosts, Bryce III, he, him pronouns.
And Liz McKean, she, her pronouns.
What up, Liz? What's up with all them boxes behind you?
Oh my gosh, all these boxes. I know, eventually we'll have episodes where my introduction isn't like, well, I'm moving and I'm a little stressed about it. So yeah, I'm moving and I'm a little stressed about it. But the countdown, we're getting closer. Just a couple weeks away. My husband's already up north, shivering in the 60-something degree weather. So yeah. And you know, the crazy thing is, I don't remember if I said this last time, but like there's an enormous amount of boxes behind me and still all my stuff is out. Like, I don't know what's in those boxes. Like clearly not anything that I use. Like, do you have that many Christmas decorations? I don't know.
Oh my goodness. There's a lot of boxes behind me, but still all my stuff is out. I need that on a shirt. For sure.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh man. Also, you're a survivor, huh? Like you are going. I know there was a hurricane that just came your way, and there's a lot of stress that comes with that. So you're moving, hurricanes coming through. There's a lot in Liz's world going on.
There's a lot going on. Yeah, but she's taking deep breaths. That's all we can do.
Well, that's absolutely beautiful. I am feeling good today. It is fall weather here in Detroit, and I'm excited to have this conversation. I am excited to get to know this person that we will be talking to today. Had a couple of interactions. I came out to the Long Beach Sober Fest, or SoCal Sober Fest a year ago, and got to work with this person, and they were absolutely phenomenal in supporting me and enabling me to come and support the community out there. So who do we have here today, Liz?
We have the wonderful Meaghan Navarro Walsh with us today. And Meaghan, I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce yourself. Bryce gave us just a little intro. We know you're in California. We know that you're part of the Phoenix community, but go ahead and introduce yourself and welcome.
Thank you. It's really nice to be here. Thank you both for asking me to be on the show. I'm really excited and nervous all at the same time. But yeah, my name's Meaghan. She, her pronouns are great. I am in California, Long Beach specifically. Gosh, I've been part of the Phoenix community for about 2.5 years now. I'm an onboarding specialist for the West, so I get to onboard all the new volunteers that come on. So super exciting. Get to talk to wonderful people all day long. So yeah, I'm just excited to be here. In long-term recovery, got about 9.5 years sober, and married, and queer person. It's really like main things that I like to go through as I identify myself. But yeah, I'm just really grateful to be here. So excited to talk to y'all.
Yeah.
Well, we're so glad that you're here. I think I'm thinking back to when we did originally like reach out and ask you if you would be willing to come on. I think you did a talk within like Phoenix, like staff. There was something where you came and spoke, and I think behind the scenes, like Bryce and I and Emma, who coordinates in our production, were just like, we need to invite Meaghan on. I was shocked when you said this was your first podcast that you did, because you're just a natural speaker.
Thank you.
We're honored to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for reaching out.
And so there also is this saying that anxiety and excitement are the same thing. The body feels those things the same. And Liz sent me a funny meme earlier today.
Yeah. Bryce has been saying that for so long, like and that's really helpful in some scenarios where it's like you're feeling nervous about, maybe speaking on a podcast or stage or something. And it's like, can that be translated to excitement? Because it is the same kind of physical. And yeah, I was like, it doesn't always work for me. And I found this meme on Instagram that was like, I've heard that. So this morning, I was trying really hard to be excited about how everybody hates me. That is typically what my anxiety is. So yeah, that made me.
I like that a lot. I think that's really like, yeah, I think I always feel this sense of like nervous excitement, but if it's going to be the same, why not let it be excitement?
It's helped me a ton. It's helped me a ton. And I think also to like loosen up the nerves. What I tell people is like, if you don't feel one bit of fear or one bit of nervousness when you step into a space, maybe you're not the person to contribute to that space. I think like fear and anxiety comes as a result from like really wanting to like contribute to the space that I'm in, which means that we care about the spaces that we step in. And so a lot of times I allow that anxiety or that fear to lead me and guide me. And it's like, oh yeah, that means I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And sometimes like when I think about something, it's like, maybe I won't do that. Like that's the thing that I'll double look at. Like, maybe I should do that because like, what is that anxiety about?
Totally. That's how I felt about this. Because I was just like,
anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it was very much like I had said in the email responding to y'all, like, I didn't want to at first. It was like fear, right? Of like, do I even have anything to say that's going to resonate with people? And like, why me? Right? Why me? Why do these people want to hear from me? And I think that was the part where it was like, well, why not? Right. And super grateful for other people that I kind of talked to about it too. They're like, of course, like your voice needs to be heard too. And I was like, okay, I guess you're right. I'm very much like in the shadows. I'm an introverted person. I like to like keep to myself and just like observe. I mean, you wouldn't think that being an onboarding specialist where I have to be on and like talking to people all the time. But yeah, I mean, it was very much like that. And I had to like kind of walk through that. Be like, okay, let's just do it.
I remember when we had Sophie Lyons on the podcast, and maybe we'll link to that in the podcast description of this episode. And Sophie had said something that really impacted me and like stuck with me to this day, where it's like, yo, like you deserve to take up space. And like I really felt that. Like, oh, because oftentimes it's like, especially on the round, like for me, is I learn so much stuff so rapidly. I end up in all these different rooms continuously. Like it's like, and I'm a perpetual baby, and so a lot of times when I don't know a lot about what's going on in the room because I'm looking to learn. Like it's like, well, do I raise my hand? Do I say something? Do I, contribute to this space, or do I just shut up and learn? And it's like, yeah, there's a balance for me, but also like, take up space. You in this room for a reason, and especially how the antennas went up. And like, let's get Meaghan on this episode. Let's get Meaghan on the podcast. Like, there's definitely space for you here. And we're excited to have this conversation. And you're like in a legendary studio. We've had like 3 guests in the studio that you're in. So that's
the
pretty
place
dope.
to be.
It's like our LA branch of the Rise, Recover, Live podcast. Yes.
So,
go ahead, Bruce.
No, I was just gonna say. So let's. To kick it off. What, like, where are you at in life right now? I know you had mentioned when we first started the episode that there may be some emotions that pop up because of where you're at right now, and most times when I find myself saying that, it's because like I'm in a season right now, and I'm figuring some things out about myself and about my surroundings and how I contribute to my environment. So, like, if you want to start, like, where are you at? What are you learning right now?
Wow. So I just celebrated a birthday on August 25th. I turned 32, and
happy birthday!
Thank you. Leading up to it, I just was like feeling all these emotions, and I was just like, where is this coming from? And again, like I'm an introverted person. I don't really like to be in the spotlight too much, like, and then leading up to the birthday was like, well, am I going to do something? Am I going to have like a party or whatever? And it's like, no, I don't want to, I don't want to like be that center of attention, but then it was just like all my friends were like, what the heck? Like, we want to celebrate you, you know? And so it's more, it was having to shift into like, oh yeah, I'm worthy of being celebrated. Right. And it's okay for me to celebrate myself and talk about myself and like, you know, be, I don't know, excited about whatever it is that I'm feeling and let myself feel these things, right? Because it's also very easy for me to be like, oh, emotions are coming. Nope. Right. So like, how about that? I want to like embrace those things. I'm a super sensitive person, very empathetic and like just really in my feelings quite a lot. And so, you know, learning how to let those kind of just flow through me has been a process. And so like, I don't know, there's just been this like joy and happiness that's been around since then and just kind of like afterwards and like, yeah, okay, wow, like I have people that love me in my life, like my friends, my family, you know, like I don't know, I just felt this overwhelming sense of joy and love the last like week and a half. And like, it was like, oh, it's not just that time, like it's been here all the time. And so how can I see that, but also take that and give it to myself? Right. And so like that's kind of where I've been. And that's why I wanted to do things like this, because it was like before this, I got asked to do the speakers bureau, right? The LGBTQ speakers bureau. I didn't want to do that either. But a friend of mine was like, you need to do it. And I was like, okay, let's do it. Then I got asked to be on a panel for cultural, like a cultural event, which is also something I'm working on. And again, I was like, I don't have anything to share. I don't even know my identity and my culture. Like I'm learning that right now. But I did the panel, right? And then like got asked to be on the podcast, didn't want to do it. Here we are, right? I got asked to be interviewed for someone's book, didn't want to do it. Let's do it, right? So I'm getting out of my comfort zone a lot because I don't know. I think it's time for me to do something different for myself, you know, and that's kind of where I've been.
That's beautiful. And when they talk about like an entire psychic change or like becoming a new person, a lot of times like that's predicated by that practicing the opposite, you know, and when we seek to grow, like learning to show up opposite of what it is that we may initially feel will create opportunity unlike we've ever experienced. And that's a beautiful process.
Totally.
Yeah. I feel like that's really in line with just the little bit of your recovery story that I had heard and that you had like just given us a little glimpse into before we came on. That whole almost like starting before you're ready or like jumping in, like having that kind of leap of faith. It sounds like, I mean, when you first started kind of engaging in like recovery community, you had kind of 1 foot in, maybe 1 foot out still, and then showed up anyways. And then both feet went in. And
yeah,
here you are continuing to do that.
Yeah.
Does that sound accurate?
Yeah. I mean, and I can, that's how it was. I mean, I came in, I got sober because I got a DUI and like, that was my first DUI. I was 22 years old and I was just like, well, doesn't this happen to everybody? Like, this is normal. So I was court ordered to go to an AA meeting, 12-step meeting. And so I was just like, all right, cool. I need to be here. Let's sign this thing. Like, but I don't really need to be here. So it definitely was that like 1 foot and like telling people like, yeah, I haven't drank since my DUI, like, but that's not true. And so like lying about it for a long time, but still being in the like environment. And then, I don't know, there was the realization one day and it just kind of was like, wow, I've been lying to myself this whole time and lying to other people. And like, yeah, I don't want to be that person. Let's like get honest, And so I got honest and and then really dove in, And so here we are, like, so I got sober March 19th of 2014. And so 10 years coming, little by little, but like, it's something I'm looking forward to. And like, it's definitely been a journey and a shift over the years. And like being able to find the Phoenix, I think was really beneficial for me because I like it aligned with what I was doing at the time. I went to school for kinesiology. I was in fitness and like a sober person. And so I was like, oh my God, I love this. I've never heard of something like this before. And so how do I get involved? And, but aside from that, it really opened my eyes to, the all pathways to recovery. And like that has really, really helped me in my time just being here and being a part of the Phoenix, knowing like, okay, even though I got sober one way, like, it doesn't mean that that's the only way. And like, there's other ways to do that. There's other pathways. And I appreciate that a lot. And now being able to like communicate with other folks that are coming through, to our community and learn their way of doing things. It's like, okay, cool. Like, we're all just here trying to have a good time and be sober and like do fun things together. That's the whole point. And I think that's what's really helped me on this journey as I've been at the Phoenix. So yeah, I mean, that's really, really how it's been. Yeah. So,
a lot of what you've already mentioned and some of the things that we, again, talked about like prior to recording was it like around the concept of identity, and whether that's identifying as I don't need this versus I, do versus I'm a person in recovery, and then figuring out like pathways. I know that identity is really important to you and something that you've worked through over the years. So I don't have a super specific question, but I want to just talk about that. Like, what does that mean to you? What are some identities that feel important to you, and how has that impacted your recovery?
I thought I knew who I was before I got sober. I think even for like a good amount of time in my sobriety, I knew who I was, right? I was very confident. I was very extroverted. I was very like, look at me. And I think getting sober it's been a humbling experience, but it's also been this like, whoa, I don't think I'm that person anymore. And like having to come to accept that I'm an introverted person. I think I always have been. I just didn't know how to be that without drugs and alcohol. Like, that's where it was. I was extroverted because I had these things to help me be that way, because that's where happy people are, right? Like, if I'm introverted, I'm not happy, but that's not true either. And I think that's what I always equated it to. And so like, that was really difficult for me to accept, and just like, again, feelings, emotions, stuff like that. But I think like the big thing that I've really come to terms with is like, people say like, I'm on this like identity crisis. I'm in an identity crisis. And they use the word crisis. And it's like, I don't want to use the word crisis. So I call it a journey, because it's like, I'm on a cultural identity journey. I'm on just an identity journey of myself, like, period. Right. Because if I call it a crisis in my mind, like, I'm already setting myself up to be like, oh my gosh, challenges, obstacles, negativity, all these things. And like, a journey, I feel like is I'm going to come across all those things anyway, but it's a journey. So I got to get through those things. And it's okay for me to come to any negative spots or challenges or obstacles and stop and be frustrated or upset or sad or whatever. But if I look at it more of like, this is going to take a long time, maybe for the rest of my life, because I'm constantly changing. That's who we are as humans. Then it's less daunting. And I feel like that's been really helpful for me to think about as I go through this. And so like, for me, I why I wanted to talk about identity is because that's where I've been. Who am I? Who is Meaghan? That's like been such a loaded question for the last few months, maybe years, I don't know. But it's just like, yeah, who am I? And I didn't really know how to answer that question. I still don't have the perfect answer, and I don't need that, but I don't feel as heavy when I'm asked that question anymore. I feel a little bit lighter, and that's the journey, right? And I think that's why I've been so emotional lately, because it's just been like, oh, I can feel this like lift, right? And it's exciting. And like, I do a lot of camping and hiking and stuff. And so like, I kind of look at it like that, like going uphill and going like, on a really high vert sucks. It sucks. And it's like, it's heavy, got like all this gravity weighing down on you. And it's just like, but you know what? No, I just want to keep going. Like I have my friends in front of me, I have people behind me, I have people around me, I have the nature surrounding me. Like it's okay. Like I'm okay. And it's okay for me to be wherever I am at any point. And I think that's the part that I'm trying to just like, not trying to, I'm holding on to that and just kind of accepting wherever I'm at and not thinking like, why aren't I there yet? Right? Why am I not where that person is yet? Right? Why, like all those questions that I'm used to asking myself. Right? I think I've found that it's not for anybody else. Like it's for me. It has to be for me. And it's okay for it to be for me. Right? And I can show up and do the things that I need to for me, however that looks. And I think I've just had these little tiny like revelations, if you call them, in just the last few days by like hearing people listening and like watching shows for like, I don't know, it's like weird. Like TV has a great influence, but it's like, yeah, why can't I do that? So being open-minded and like, I think therapy has really helped me a lot to dive into like even my past of that and be like, why was I like that? Why did I think that way? Maybe there was a reason for that of like coming into my sobriety, right? And I feel like if I didn't get sober, I don't know where I'd be. Would I be this person? I don't know. I hope to think so, but I can't even think about that, right? Because that's not where I'm at. And so I've found a level of awareness. There's more I can always learn. And I think that's always been how I am. I'm always learning. But there's a level of awareness that I think I have now. It's like, okay, I could just be here and do these things and try new things and be challenged and uncomfortable. But that's how you grow.
Mm.
Can I share a story with you really quick?
Yes, please.
So before I got here, I went to Echo Park. There's like a little lake over here. I'd never been there before. I was like, cool, let's just take a little detour. Why not? So I went over there and I took a walk, and there's all these people walking around. There's like ducks everywhere, people with dogs and stuff. And I was just like, I just want to like go and clear my mind, And there's lotus flowers everywhere. And like, I don't think I've ever really like seen a lotus flower before. And you know the story of lotus flowers. They come out of the mud. They're a beautiful thing, right? And so I was just like, that's nice. Like, I don't know. It was just really uplifting just to see all these like lotus flowers coming out of this pretty disgusting water, right? And so it was like, yeah, that's kind of how it is. I've had a very difficult life, difficult childhood, but I don't think I would be here without any of those things, especially this thing that's in here that's constantly trying to keep me in the mud. How can I blossom out of that? And that was kind of what I saw on that walk too. It's just really nice. So I wanted to share that.
Man, come on now. This is you. So last night I was on my bike and I was just riding around the neighborhood. I actually ended up in the area that I'd never been in. And I'm like, how the hell I end up here? But while I was out, the moon was out. And there was a moment when I had I had my headphones in and I was listening to Empire of the Sun is one of their songs, and I'm looking at the moon, and it's just like, and I feel like it's been a theme in a ton of conversations, including the ones that we've had with like Jackie Helios about awe and like its impact on humans and its impact on our unfolding, like that feeling of awe. There's a science behind it. I'm not really scientific. I'm just like experiential, and I felt it. I felt it looking at huge mountains. I felt it last night looking at the moon, and I feel it right now as you share your process with us. Like, as you shed the tears and as you share your process, and I'm looking at your face and I'm seeing your facial expressions as you're working to put into words this experience that you've been having, I think this is the power of community. There's so many people that have shared their experience with you, and then you are here sharing your experience with us. And I know somebody's listening that's been impacted already, but me as a host, like, I'm seeing it, I'm feeling like this funny feeling, like I'm holding back tears, and I'm thinking about all the ways that I've unfolded and that I've got it out the mud, and that, I thought I knew how I was last week until Monday came, and now it's a whole different thing, and that continuous process of unfolding and the weight lifting up off of my back as I continue to live and cultivate experience around that process, and comes in the form of self-compassion. Because I've been here before, and I've also beat my own ass when I've been here. So let me be a little easier on myself this time. I used to call it, and I didn't know what it was. Who does, right? But community helps us to kind of define things and put them into words so that it is easier medicine for the soul. But I used to call it getting too big for my skin. It would be moments where I pressed against my skin and I would literally feel uncomfortable. Like, yo, what I thought was working don't work no more. What I thought I believed, I don't believe anymore. Like, why am I moving so rapidly? Like, why don't things satiate me like they used to? Why do I not feel like I belong in the spaces that I'm in anymore? What do I need to do? And then I would talk to people, and it's like, yeah, it sounds like you busting out the cocoon. But unlike a caterpillar and a butterfly, we tend to go in the cocoon multiple times throughout our lives. It might be a perpetual process where it's like, this is what it is until we out of here, especially when we begin to live intentional and we're not numbing up. First and foremost, I just want to thank you for being so transparent and sharing your story as you have, because whew, it's done something for me. I'm like, you halfway through your story, I'm like, Meaghan spitting, sheesh, oh my God.
Yeah, Bryce to soprano level. That was, it's a good episode if that happens.
This is what happens in here.
I love it. I love it so much. No, I totally echo what Bryce said. And it is amazing how any of these conversations that we have, both on the air and off, it always feels like it certainly always kind of just touches something in me. I know, Bryce has said the same. And there's always someone who reaches out and is just like, how did this episode drop on this day when I needed to hear this thing, and, you said before that you weren't sure if you had anything to share, like why you and why your voice. And that's the whole purpose of this podcast and this community is to lift up voices that might not be heard on a big scale otherwise, that are the ones who need to the most, that definitely are going to reach someone that needs to hear that. I wanted to ask what it's been like as you've been kind of going through this intentional journey of, identity and growth and grace for yourself through it all with a spouse. I know that you had said that you are queer and married. And so I know that there's a person there that is very significant and important to you. And what's that been like alongside someone?
Oh man, that's a good question. It's been amazing. I feel like, I don't know, I felt like most of my life, I needed to do things by myself. That's just how it was growing up. I always had a lot of support in my life, always, still do. But I think it was more of an internal thing. I can't ask for help. I can't have anybody else do it for me. I need to do it for myself, or else I'm not good enough. I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to be fit in or whatever it is. Right. And I still think that way sometimes. And so it's difficult for me to ask for things, or I don't know. But on the other side, I've been a very open person. I'm not afraid to talk about whatever. And I don't know. My wife is in recovery as well. And I think that's been very helpful because we can kind of bounce off each other in a way with these things. And she's really helped me a lot with getting therapy. That was something I resisted for a very long time because I didn't want to open that. I didn't want to go back. And, it was kind of this thing that's she's doing it. She's working on herself. How can I do that? I want to do that too. like, and for me, right? Again, it's like, it's for me. And, this isn't, I don't know, maybe this is relevant. She is older than me. And so like, there's been moments where I've learned a lot from her. Even when we first met, we've been together for almost 8 years now. It was like, I'm not here to play games. I'm not here to like, you either get it together or don't. And I was just like, okay, that's great. Like those were good learning experiences for me to be like, oh yeah, maybe I need to look at that for myself and be like, why am I doing this? Right. I've been used to doing a thing for a long time. How can I change a behavior? And that's been really helpful for me. But also on the flip side, like I'm a very emotional, sensitive person. She's opposite of that. And I think like there's been a pretty cool shift in that as we've been able to like have our relationship. And it's really important for me to say that I'm married because that wasn't allowed for a very long time. It wasn't legal. It wasn't like okay to be married to the same sex, right? And so like I say that because I have a lot of pride in that and like gratitude because in the state of California, I'm able to legally get married to this person that I love so much. And so like, and I always wanted to get married. It was something I wanted to do ever since I was a little kid. And so, I didn't know who it was going to be with, but, I just knew I wanted to get married. So that was like, okay, cool. Like I'm doing it. And it really was like, it was a beautiful thing because my family was there. I was able to celebrate with them. I've always been accepted with that. And, but it was always in the back of my head, like, but when I get married, are they going to come? Right. And so like even my extended family. And so it was like, whoa, this is actually real and this is happening and it's coming up. Are they going to be there? And it was like so awesome, like to the way that they all showed up, like even just through the process was amazing and made me feel like, okay, like I'm really extremely like so extremely grateful because I know that that's not how everybody's experiences is. And so anyway, I think, having this type of union now is like, this person's my family now. And like, there's a level of like, I don't know, we're learning lots of boundaries. We're learning lots of like, how can maybe I don't want to say be tougher because I'm tough, but like, how can she maybe be more sensitive and I can be more like, okay, what is it that you're thinking? Right. Like, and have these conversations that aren't the best and the easiest and the most fun. And it's truly a partnership. And I think this is the healthiest relationship I've ever been in. And I think that's because I am the healthiest person that I've ever been. And I think, she feels the same way. And I feel like, I always thought whoever I was with in my past was like, I'm going to get married to this person and be with them forever. Right. And it just didn't turn out that way. And I was like, I'm never going to find anybody again. And, and it just like, life happens and then I meet another person and like this person is my person and it's cool. It's like it's really exciting. I mean, you're married, right, Liz? So like it's like I don't know, there's a feeling that I can't really like explain. I'm just grateful to have her in my life and be able to be like, okay, cool, I feel safe with you. I feel like I can share these like really dark things that I'm going through right now on this identity journey of like, who am I? Who, like, is my gender different? Is my like, do I want to look a different way? Like those things are really serious and I don't want to talk about it to just myself, and I think I've been able to walk through that fear and be able to talk with her about it and be met with kindness and like support instead of whatever my head's like, she's going to hate me. She's going to leave you. Right. And so, yeah, it's been a really cool experience. And I just look forward to like keep doing that with her,
We've talked about just the concept of like having a touch tree. We've talked about that as like the the phoenix or community or whatever, like when you have that sense of just safety, having that touch tree that allows you to then kind of like branch out and explore the forest, because you always know, even if you feel a little lost, you can go back to that touch tree and then you regain your balance and then, go off and venture out. And that's how I feel in my marriage too. Is that's what it sounds like for you, that like kind of safety. And that doesn't have to be a spouse, you know.
Right.
For a lot of people, that's completely different things. For some people, it's a physical location. You know, like my husband and I have talked about this a lot lately as people have been asking us, you know, we've been talking about how we're moving up north and how that might not be our last stop. You know, it's going to be maybe a few years. Then maybe we'll try out west. And folks have been like, well, what is home? And I'm like, well, like us is home. Like he's home, you know, like for me. And that is like my touch tree is mobile, luckily, but it doesn't, you know, it doesn't have to be. It's cool how that can be something that you get to decide what that is. That can be evolving throughout life. But yeah, to have that person is, it is just something that feels so, it's like, can't quite believe that I'm so fortunate to have that. And I'm so glad that you do too.
Yeah.
So both of y'all would say that your spouses are your touch tree?
Yeah, I mean, sure. That's cool. I never actually heard that, and I like that.
I don't remember where I heard it. I think I definitely did not make that up, but yeah, I've brought it up before, and that's
because you were the first person I heard it from. It's yours.
I did make it up. Yep,
I credit you every time it crosses my mind.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. No, it definitely came. It might have been like a Glennon Doyle thing. It's probably some like, 100-year-old, like incredibly brilliant author or something. I cannot claim it, but I'm glad to be spreading it.
Yeah. No, I like that.
I think it's valuable.
I don't know if I have a touch tree.
It could be anything.
No?
No, I wouldn't say music is my touch tree. Like, I don't know. Like, the only thing the only thing I've been able to ever hang my hat on has been impermanence. So maybe like impermanence is my touch tree. Like,
that's interesting.
Like things never being the same, and that's the nature of things. So I find like safety in that.
You know, for yoga, I think we've talked about this a little before, but there's the concept of like a drishti, which is like this non-moving point. So if I'm balancing, if I'm literally on one foot, I will find a drishti. So that might be a spot on a wall, a corner of a brick, something like that. Something that is not moving, right? That I can look at. And if my eyes see that steadiness, it, maybe will translate to like my body feeling steady and just allow me to be safe in that, on one foot. Ironically, maybe in tree pose. Gonna let this metaphor get away from me if I'm not careful, so let me stick with it. And the way I like to look at that drishti point, that external non-moving point, like almost like an anchor that your eyes are anchoring on, is that at some point within the practice of yoga anyways, it's like I want to bring that drishti internal, like be able to close my eyes and have that non-moving point within me. So I wonder if that's because I feel like just, Bryce, you have this stillness like that I've seen you go inward and find. I've seen you help me go inward and find. I mean, maybe you can be your own touch tree.
It's a lot of responsibility, Liz.
Ever evolving. You grow a forest of touch trees.
Yeah, I like that. I feel like there's maybe different touch trees for different things.
That's a really good, I like that too.
Yeah.
Like, damn, I didn't expect to come into this episode and like really be thinking with my spirit as much.
Hi.
I don't know why you would expect anything different. What we do here.
I love it. No, I love it.
You too.
That's great.
You too.
So with therapy, I think this is I don't know, it's a trend in my life. I probably need that. So I was going to therapy, and then I haven't been in a while, but I would appreciate that neutral party to kind of work through some things. So that might be, now that I've said it like on a public platform, now it has to get done. But I know you said it, you kind of resisted that at first, and you didn't want to go back, and you didn't want to look at that. But due to encouragement you have, how has that been for you to go into what it is that maybe you did want to go into and then dip into it? Like, how's that been for you?
It's been eye-opening. And like the part of me that was resisting was little me. And I didn't want to go there. There's a lot of trauma there. And because for me, it was like, I'm fine. I'm over it. It's okay. But that's not true. That wasn't true. And so there was like, okay, I thought like, I had said previously I was in 12 step. And so like I worked through a lot of that in 12 step. And so it was again like a little bit easier for me to already like be talking about it. But even before that, when certain things had happened in my childhood, I was writing about it. I was talking about it. I think that also kind of helped me like navigate through that as a young person. And also like, there was a moment where there was closure and like forgiveness and things like that already. And so again, it was just kind of like, okay, I've moved on, right? And everything's great. But there were still moments where it was just like, yeah, no, it's not okay. And for a moment of in my young life, I was like made to go to therapy. And so I was like, no, I don't want to do that again, because it was like, now I have to repeat everything that I just went through with this person that I don't know. And like, but I've already like gone through it myself. So like, why am I talking to this person? I was 18 years old. So resistance already. But even in my adult life, like I just got into therapy last August. Actually, it's already been a year. I don't know. Again, it was like, what if this therapist is going to tell me that I like make me hate this person that I love so much because I thought I've done the work to like go through that, right? And then I had talked to some friends who are therapists, and they were like, but what if it doesn't? What if it makes that relationship stronger? What if it just makes you understand yourself a little bit more and like not be so afraid, or like help you get clarity and help you like bring peace to that child, right? And I was like, okay, like, God, all right, like, why do you gotta call me out, so let's just do it. And I, reached out, and I've been with the same person since, last year. And, it's really helped me to be it's a process, definitely, very little by little type of process. And so I think it's kind of helped with where I am right now in this moment, because I'm now able to kind of think about things in a different way. And I don't know, like these things happened to me, right? They happened. And how can I find understanding and compassion with that, and like let my younger self find peace? And that's something I'm still working on right now. But I think there was a lot of suppression in my childhood. I couldn't cry. There's no crying. There's no like nothing, right? And so now it's really like, how do I change that narrative into, it's okay, you can cry, right? And like, it's okay, you can feel this feeling. Like I was watching a show not too long ago, and I didn't want to laugh for some reason. Like it was funny, and I didn't want to laugh. And I was like, why aren't you laughing right now? And I had to stop myself.
Like you were physically holding it back?
Yeah. Like I was like, but it's funny. But why aren't I laughing? Because I never laughed at those things before. And now I find it funny. And like, why is that? Is that okay for me to think differently and behave differently? And I was like, and I had to stop the show, and I had to tell Ivy, like, I just told myself not to laugh at this thing. And she was like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, why am I doing that? Like, this is funny to me. And I like, it's okay for me to laugh at it. Right. And I don't know. It's just those little things. It's like, because that's my younger self that was like, no, you can't. Okay, no, you can't cry either. You can't laugh. You can't like do X, Y, Z, because there's going to be a repercussion for certain things. And so there's also this sense of like, but what if that person doesn't feel the same way? Are they going to leave me? Are they going to think that I'm weird? Are they going to think like, I don't know. So you had said something about self-compassion. And I actually went through a self-compassion workbook not too long ago that was really helpful. And I'm in a book club with a couple other people, and we did that. And now we're like working through a book called Trauma and the 12 Steps, and learning how to like look at trauma and like how that correlates with the 12 steps and like and therapy and like things like that. And it's like really eye-opening of like, okay, again, it's okay for me to have this trauma, right? But how can I look at it from a different perspective and now change the narrative to, oh my gosh, all of this stuff happened to me, versus, you know what? Yes, it did. And here are some skills to cope and like work through that. And so I've learned a lot of different things and different skills so far that I've been able to practice like for myself, to myself, but also like in my relationships and my friendships and with my family. And that's going to be a long journey. But, you know, it's like, okay, I can actually like step away and like look over a set situation and be like, okay, what is it that I'm feeling right now? Is that like me acting out on that feeling? But really, what is that feeling? Am I angry or am I hurt and sad? Like, and what am I going to do with that? Am I going to act on it or am I going to just be like, okay, yeah, I'm hurt. Okay. Right. And so
that's huge.
It's like knowing them, knowing these things and practicing them is a whole other thing. Right. And so like, I'm really actively trying to work on like practice those things. Mm-hmm. And because again, it's like, if I'm going to stay the same way all the time, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to change. I'm not going to grow. I'm not going to learn. And if that's something that I long for, then I have to continue to do that. No, it sucks sometimes. But it's also like really fulfilling and like, oh yeah, okay, I was able to like not act on that feeling. Right?
Yeah.
Or allow myself to have that feeling. That's also a good, like, that's also a good thing.
Yeah. And you identify it, like, as opposed to just like having a reaction and not really knowing, like, I don't know about you, but like, there's definitely times where I'm like, why did I do that? Why am I even feeling this way? Like, and it's like that instinct to like suppress, to deny, to fix, you know, instead of to pause, to name it, and then to like make decisions from, you know, the part of yourself that does have compassion.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is, I mean, like, that's just recovery, man. Like that's amazing. Yeah.
And that's what I equated to. I'm awesome. Like, would I even be able to think this way if I wasn't sober? Like, I don't know. I think I thought I was a super enlightened person when I was not sober. Like, that's how it was. I was enlightened. Oh, like, that's really how I felt. And nothing could touch me. I was God. But was that reality? Right? For me.
I think too, I just want to shout out to the listeners, because there might be some out of place laughs like you might not know if you weren't watching this on YouTube, but like Meaghan's body language is speaking volumes as well as to like what her process has been, and like this has been a vulnerable episode, and I'm just honored that you chose this space to share these things on. It's an absolute honor to be able to hold these spaces, to allow for you to work through this stuff out loud, to allow for you to share with us. And these are my favorite type of episodes. I'm super excited for this to go out and for people to hear this, because for those of you listening, like, this is what process looks like, you know, and give or take your own personal details or your own personal process, but like not having the answer, but actively having the courage to find what the answer is for us. It is the process. And Meaghan, you are engrossed in it, and it's very tangible. Like it bleeds off of you. And yeah, this has been cool.
Thank you guys so much.
As we bring this episode to a close, I think we should ask the question. We haven't asked the question in a minute, Liz, have we?
We haven't? Did we not ask the question last time? What the heck?
No, you know, we've had a couple of different episodes recently, you know, so live episodes, episodes with advocates and organizations. But I think this is a great episode to ask the question. And I think this is a dope episode to lob it to you, because I don't think you've asked the question in a minute. So Liz, go ahead and ask the special question.
I know, I would love to. So Meaghan, if you could peel back layers of time to whatever version of you think you would want to peel back to, what are some words that you would say to you now? What would you say to you previously? Be any version of you. Any words?
It's funny. Can I just say it's funny because I wrote down this question when you had said it the last time I listened to the podcast, and I was like, think about this question, Meaghan.
Every so often it comes up for us to answer, and every time I'm just like, oh God, I don't know. We're here every week.
Okay, so if I was thinking about another version of myself, what would I say to them? Don't give up, and that you're loved, and that you're worth it.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you've been here this whole time and you made it to this part of the episode, those words are specifically for you as well.
With finger guns from Meaghan, because I love it
for you.
So
and you.
Amazing. Oh, it's so good.
Well, this has been an awesome episode. Yeah, this oftentimes when we record an episode is really impactful for me. Like I'm like, this is top tier. This is one of the top 10 episodes we've done. What is this, like episode like 70 something? We've been doing this for a grip. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah. This is gonna go down as like one of my more recent favorites. So thank you again for coming, sharing your process with us, getting so vulnerable and feeling safe enough in this space to be able to share.
Thank you both so much for having me. It's been a pleasure and an honor myself.
Yeah. And for you all listening, go like, subscribe, share this episode with somebody. Let them share in this community, because this is one of the episodes where it's like, yo, like this is like giving a friend a hug. Please share this episode with somebody. It will benefit. I can't think of who this episode wouldn't benefit. Head to your podcast app, be it Apple or Spotify, and leave us a rating and review. That helps for other people to find a show that need to have this specific episode in their queue. And we will catch you next time on the Rise, Recover, Live podcast.
So now you're excited. Bryce, Liz, how do I get involved with the Phoenix? Well, my friend, it is super simple. We actually have an app. Head over to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, or look in the show notes of this podcast, wherever you're listening to or watching this podcast, and go download the Phoenix app.
The Phoenix app makes it so easy to find classes that are near you, or to access our virtual class schedule where you can hop on from the comfort of your home. You can also join our groups and have a conversation with someone from the Phoenix community from anywhere in the world. Please make sure that you join the podcast group where you can connect with Bryce and I and other listeners. Everything that you need is in the show notes. You can also head to our website at www.thephoenix.org. And maybe while you're there, you click the volunteer tab and get even more involved.